everybody, it's Dr. Joe, and today I'm going to show you my top 7 basic pelvic stabilization exercises. So let's get started. Disclaimer alert, disclaimer alert. So these would be for stabilizing the pelvis if you have some instability in there, maybe if you have some SI joint issues where you've kind of gotten out of alignment. These are the exercises you want to do after you get yourself back into alignment. So if you haven't subscribed already, make sure and click the button down there and let's get started. The basic ones we're going to lay down. So we're just going to start off with a simple bridge. Make sure you're comfortable. You don't have to do these on the floor. You can do them in your bed if your bed is firm enough, on the couch, something like that. So if you have a hard time getting up off the floor, you don't have to do these on the floor. So for a bridge, it's really simple, but you want to go nice and slow and controlled. So have your feet about shoulder width apart, and you're just going to slowly bring your bottom up, but kind of come one segment at a time of your spine. So you don't have to stop at each segment, but you want it to be a smooth, controlled coming up and down. When you're coming up, you don't just want to push straight up. Bring your knees forward. That kind of helps work those glutes to help stabilize the pelvis, and then nice and slow coming down. So you can do just a little pause at the top if you want to hold it for 3 seconds or so, or you can just kind of continuously come up and down. But make sure you're controlling it, you're activating all those muscles, you're kind of pushing forward when you come up so you're not arching your back and you're using those muscles that you're supposed to. So I would just start off with maybe 10 of these, and then you can slowly work your way up from there. So the next one is going to be a clamshell. Clamshells look pretty easy, but if you do them correctly, they're actually pretty tough. The side that you're working on is going to be on top, but I would recommend if you're doing pelvic stabilization exercise, you want to do both sides. So you're going to keep your feet together and kind of pull them up so your knees are slightly in front of you. The feet are going to stay together the whole time, and your top knee is just going to come up. But the important part of this is you want your hips to stay perpendicular to the floor or what you're lying on the whole time. A lot of times when people open up into the clamshell, they lean back like this, but then this isn't really working those glute medius muscles that you want to. So when you're coming up, try and keep this right there. So you don't have to come up high. That's usually where people start to roll, is when they try and come up, they roll back like that. If you feel like you're rolling the whole time, you can lean up against a wall, so then your pelvis stays in place. But really try and just bring that knee up and then slowly come back down. So make sure you're comfortable, lie on a pillow. You don't want to stress anything else out while you're doing it, but just opening up and then nice and slow coming back down. So the coming down is just as important as the going up. So don't just plop it back down. Really try and control that motion the whole time. So again, just start off with about 10 of those and then work your way up from there. The next one is going to be a side plank. Side planks can be pretty tough, so you can start with it modified, which would be on your knees, and then if that becomes easy, then you can do a full side plank. When you're doing a side plank, you want your shoulder and your elbow to be pretty much in alignment, because if you move it in a different position, that's going to put a lot of stress on your shoulders, and you don't want your pelvis to start feeling good and then end up having shoulder problems. So if you're doing the modified one on your knees, try and get yourself pretty much in a straight line. My knees are slightly in front of me because when I come up, I'm going to bring my pelvis forward just a little bit, but you want to try and get yourself in a pretty straight line. So you're not sagging down like this, you're not arching up really high like that. You want to squeeze in those glute muscles so you get in that nice straight line. I would just start off with holding this for maybe 5 to 10 seconds. Make sure you're squeezing those muscles to hold it there, and then come back down. You can do maybe 5 or 10 for 5 or 10 seconds. If that's easy, then you can go into the full plank. So now you're just straightening out. You want, again, your body to be in a completely straight line, and when you come up, it needs to stay in that straight line. So again, just kind of holding that. You can put your hand up here. If you need a little bit of support, you can put that there, but you really want to try and hold it like this, because if you can't do that, you probably need to do the modified position. So again, maybe starting off with 10 to 15 seconds, then work your way up from there. So then the next one, you're going to lie all the way down again, and you're going to go into a sidelying hip abduction. So this again is kind of working
those pelvis muscles all around that area, those glutes, glute medius. So the top leg is now going to be straight. You can keep the bottom one bent just for support, but again, you want to keep your hips kind of perpendicular to the floor. If you're rolling back, then you're not getting the muscles working that you need. When you lift your leg, you want to try and keep the leg straight, and you want to lead with your heel going slightly behind you. So it's not this, where my toes are coming up and my legs in front of me. It's going back that way. So really activating those muscles when you go back. And even this way, you don't want those toes to come up. You want that heel to go up first as you're coming slightly back behind you. So again, just starting off with 5 or 10. If that becomes easy, you can work your way up. If you get to 20, 25, you can put a little weight around your ankle. So the next one is just going to be sidelying hip circles. So you're in the same position. You want that same technique where you're keeping those hips perpendicular, but this time you're just going to raise your leg up just a little bit. It doesn't have to be super high. And you're just going to make circles with your leg. So you want the circles to be pretty straight up and down, so when you go up and over, it goes slightly behind you. The circles don't have to be big. They can just be nice small circles. You can do 10 one way and then reverse it and do 10 the other way. So don't feel like you have to make big, huge circles. You're just doing those small, controlled circles, but keep the front part in the front and the back of the circle in the back. So you're really getting all those hip muscles working. So then the next one is still in sidelying, and this time you're just going to do toe taps front to back. So all the same stuff, still keeping the pelvis in perpendicular alignment. And this time, if you want to put your other leg out, you can to use it as a target, but you don't have to. So you're just going to come up, tap to the front, come back up, tap to the back. So you're just nice and controlled, tapping front to back. You can go a little slower than this if you want to. I wouldn't go too much faster, because then you're just going to start using momentum instead of using your muscles for the control. So a slow, steady motion is probably the best. And I'd say, again, 5 taps on each side, total of 10. Make sure you're flipping and doing the other side too for all of these exercises, so you're getting that strengthening on both sides. So the last one, you're going to come up into all fours or quadruped. And so this one's kind of silly, kind of funny, because we call it fire hydrants. So it's kind of like it sounds if you see a dog going up to a fire hydrant. But when you're in quadruped, you want to still make sure that your shoulders are pretty close to level with your hands. You don't want your hands way out here. You don't want them under there, because you want to keep your shoulders nice and stable to not hurt those very much. You want your back to be pretty straight, so it's not sagging down, it's not up like this. You have a good tilt in your pelvis. You're using that core to keep you nice and tight. And then all you're going to do is just kind of like when you see a dog go up to a fire hydrant, and you're going to keep your knee bent and bring your leg out to the side. So just like this, nice and slow, come back down. Try not to lean all the way over to that side. Try and keep yourself in a pretty good neutral position, and just bring that leg up and out, and then nice and gently coming back in. So if you feel like your hips are rotating, you're probably not ready for this, but really just coming out. You don't have to go super high, and then coming back in. And then so again, make sure you're doing both sides, and you can just start off again with maybe 5 on each side, and then work your way up from there. So there you have it. Those were my top 7 basic pelvic stabilization exercises. If you'd like to help support my channel, make sure and click on the link up here, and don't forget to subscribe by clicking down here. And remember, be safe, keep that pelvis stabilized, have fun, and I hope you feel better soon.